Today on Sugar Spun Run, I'll be showing you how to make white chocolate chip macadamia nut cookies. Hey everyone, Sam here, and I'm sure you've probably had a white chocolate chip macadamia nut cookie in the past. Now, what makes mine so special is a couple of things, but the main thing is that I'm going to be browning the butter for today's recipe. Now, this is super simple to do, and I'll walk you through the steps in just a second, but you're going to need to start with 2 sticks or 1 cup of unsalted butter. Let's go ahead and head over to our saucepan, and I'll show you how to brown butter. We'll add our butter to a medium-sized saucepan, and we'll set our stovetop heat to low or medium-low. We're just going to let that butter melt slowly. Don't crank up the heat yet, because then you're going to start browning it prematurely. Now, when you're browning butter, I don't recommend using a metal utensil like a metal spoon, and that's just because the handle tends to get really hot while you're working with that hot butter in the skillet. I like to use a heat-proof utensil like a rubber spatula, a rubber heat-proof spatula, or a wooden spoon, or even a whisk that has an insulated handle. Once your butter has completely melted, you'll want to turn your stovetop heat to just above medium heat. Keep stirring occasionally while your butter heats up. Pretty soon your butter should start bubbling and popping. Now at this point, you're going to want to start stirring pretty much constantly. Just keep swirling your spatula or your spoon through the butter and make sure you're scraping the sides and bottom of your saucepan so that the butter doesn't start to burn. Just keep stirring while your butter sizzles and pops. Whatever you do, do not walk away from your butter while it's browning. That is the easiest way to burn it. Now this is sizzling and popping because we are cooking the water out of our butter. Most butter has about 15 to 20% water, and we're cooking this out of our butter, enriching it, and then ultimately we'll be browning those milk solids that are found in the butter. That is what gives this butter such a good flavor when it's finished cooking. Once the sizzling and popping starts to slow down, this is when you really need to be careful and keep an eye on your butter. Now at this point, you're going to be looking for that butter to start to be turning brown. So you see we have some foam here. I'm just trying to, as I'm swirling my spatula through the butter, I'm just looking for any sign that it's starting to turn brown. We have a little bit of brown here. I'm just going to take this just a little bit further. All right, if you can see that, it's nice and brown, so we want to immediately remove it from the heat. Now this saucepan is really hot, so if you leave your brown butter in the saucepan, it's going to keep cooking and could even end up burning your butter. So what I recommend is as soon as you remove that saucepan from the heat, immediately pour your butter into a heat-proof bowl. That'll stop it from cooking, and it's going to keep you from burning your butter. And make sure you scrape all of those brown bits out of your saucepan, because that is what gives this butter such a good flavor. Now when making these cookies, or when making just about anything with brown butter, it's really important that the butter cools down before you add any other ingredients to it. Now the best way to check is just to touch the bottom of the bowl. If it feels even a little bit warm, you're going to want to let your butter cool just a bit longer. Now it can take 30 minutes or an hour or even longer for your butter to come back down to room temperature. I've let this cool for a bit. It's just about there, but since it's still a little warm, we're going to go ahead and start prepping our dry ingredients. Now you're going to need a medium-sized bowl with 2 3/4 cup of all-purpose flour. We're going to add a tablespoon of cornstarch, which helps to make these cookies nice and soft, a teaspoon of baking powder, a teaspoon of baking soda, and 3/4 teaspoon of salt. Now stir everything together until your ingredients are completely combined. Now that we've prepped our dry ingredients, let's check on that browned butter. So this does not feel even a little bit warm to the touch, so we can go ahead and combine our wet ingredients. So I'm just going to scrape this into a larger bowl just to make it easier for me to stir everything together. And I do mean scrape. You want to scrape all of those brown bits from the bottom of your first bowl into your new bowl. That is what gives these cookies such a good flavor. Now along with that butter, we're going to add 1 cup of firmly packed brown sugar and 2/3 cup of granulated sugar. Stir everything together until your sugar and your butter are nicely combined. We'll add 2 large eggs, and you want these to be room temperature, and 1 1/2 teaspoons of vanilla extract, and just stir everything together again. Once you have all your wet ingredients nicely combined, grab your flour mixture and we're just going to gradually stir this into our butter mixture. Now the only thing left to add to our cookie dough is our macadamia nuts and our chocolate chips. We're going to be adding 1 cup of dry roasted chopped macadamia nuts and 1 cup of white chocolate chips. Fold these into your batter. I do recommend chilling this cookie dough before baking with it, so we're just going to cover the bowl with plastic wrap and transfer this to our fridge where it will chill for at least 30 minutes. While your dough is chilling, you'll want to preheat your oven to 375 degrees Fahrenheit. Once your dough is finished chilling and your oven is preheated, you want to grab your dough from the fridge and we can start scooping it. I just like to use my 1.5 tablespoon size cookie scoop to scoop this dough. And just for a nice, neat, uniform appearance, I like to roll this cookie dough in the palm of my hand. Just roll it between my palms until I have a nice, smooth cookie dough ball. All right, let's take these cookies over to our 375 degree Fahrenheit preheated oven where they'll need to bake for about 9 to 11 minutes. Now you'll want to let these cookies cool completely on the baking sheet because when they come out of the oven, the center should still be a little bit underdone. Letting them cool completely on the baking sheet lets them finish cooking and gives you a nice, soft cookie center. Now these have finished cooling and I wish you could smell how good my house smells right now. This is a really simple cookie recipe made extra special by the addition of brown butter, and I really think you're going to love it. If you try this one out, please let me know what you think. I always love hearing from you. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you next time. They're good.